The last thing we want them to do is to be made sick because of something that we're trying to give them to prevent them from becoming seriously unwell. But, really, we can do an awful lot at home just to help support them. And in the vast majority of cases, they don't need any further treatment. While most of us recognise the importance that vaccines play in keeping our pets as healthy as possible, many of us also worry about the potential for side effects. So I'm going to be discussing that in more detail today, specifically lumps after injection.
Welcome to the Call the Vet Show, the podcast that helps keep your furry family as healthy as possible so they can live the full and happy life they deserve. And here's your host, veterinarian Dr. Alex Avery.
Well, hello there and welcome to another episode of the Call the Vet Show. I'm Dr. Alex, and if we've not met before, I'm the veterinarian behind ourpetshealth.com. I'm a companion animal, small animal veterinarian, actually over in New Zealand, so the other side of the world from most of you listening, although we do have some local listeners as well, so hello to you. And from my accent, you can probably tell that I was originally UK-based, and that's where I did all my training as well. But anyway, enough about me. We've got a fantastic question that was sent in by Marisol today, all about vaccine side effects, because her dog has just had a vaccination and she's a little bit concerned. So let's jump straight into it.
Hello. So I have a quick question. I want to say 2 days ago, I gave my dog his rabies shot, and I noticed since yesterday that he has a little lump on his neck. I just wanted to know if that's something bad or dangerous. I was also wondering what I could give him so that swelling could go down. I hope you can answer me. Thank you.
So vaccine side effects is a pretty common problem that we get questions about, and certainly I get questions about over on the website. And, thankfully a small swelling after vaccination, a day or two after vaccination, is completely normal. Now, this small swelling, it can be present for a few days, even a couple of weeks in some dogs and cats. It sticks around for a little bit longer, but normally it's only kind of 2, 3, 4 days or so. And really this forms because the body is fighting a perceived infection. That's really what vaccinations do. They trick the body into thinking that it's fighting this perceived infection. And so it's sending a lot of inflammatory cells into the area where that injection was given, because there's also other material in there to try and make sure that immune response is really adequate and is doing the job that we want to do. And the body is responding to that to try and win the battle against this perceived infection. So it's really all part of a normal and healthy immune response. And it actually shows that your dog's immune system is responding to that vaccine well. And that's exactly what we want it to do. And this is also why we get other common vaccine side effects, which are seen in both dogs and cats as well as people. I know myself, I feel pretty ropey after getting my tetanus vaccine, for example. And the common one that we see in dogs and cats is that they often feel, maybe a little bit under the weather, not quite on top of their game for 24, 48 hours at most, and they might even run a slight fever. And that can understandably be quite concerning. We can't explain to our pets exactly what's happening. And the last thing we want them to do is to be made sick because of something that we're trying to give them to prevent them from becoming seriously unwell. But, really, we can do an awful lot at home just to help support them. And in the vast majority of cases, they don't need any further treatment. They don't need to be seen by your veterinarian again, although that may be something to think about, which I'll come on to in a little bit. But Marisol also asked, is there anything that she can do specifically to help that lump go down? And absolutely, there's a couple of things. So the first is a cold compress. So just an ice pack to pop that onto that lump in the first couple of days after the vaccination. That's going to help increase your dog's comfort levels and also to limit any excessive swelling, which we don't want. After a couple of days, that cold compress isn't going to be doing a huge amount, and then we can switch to actually a heat pack. So we get our wheat germ packs and that kind of thing. You can put them in the microwave. We don't want them to be too hot, just nice and kind of warm, a little bit warmer than body temperature will do the job. And that's going to encourage the lump just to go down and resolve if it's still present a few days later. If your dog's feeling a little bit tender or they're just a little bit under the weather, then just simple TLC at home is going to help them feel more comfortable and recover that little bit quicker. So encouraging them to eat and drink to maintain their hydration, maybe giving them their favorite food as well. Just keeping them quiet, not overstimulating them, not taking them out for a really big walk or exuberant exercise session or anything like that. Making sure they've got some nice comfortable bedding and just let them sleep it off effectively. If you're enjoying this episode of the podcast, I'd invite you to check out ourpetshealthacademy.com. The Our Pets Health Academy is the essential resource for any pet parent who is truly serious about keeping their furry family member as happy, healthy, and comfortable as possible. Whether you've just brought a new puppy or kitten into the home or you've had pets all your life, the Our Pets Health Academy will help you eliminate uncertainty and guide you through difficult situations while also saving you time and money so that you can optimize your dog and cat's health. With our growing course list, monthly live training and Q&A sessions, resource library, discounts and member-only forum, the Academy will give you everything you need to look after your pet to the best of your ability. Check it out at ourpetshealthacademy.com. Now, of course, there are exceptions to every rule. So if the lump is continuing to grow, if it's getting really quite tender to touch, or if your dog or cat, if they're exhibiting kind of similar signs, if they're feeling significantly unwell, then give your vet a call. Just follow up with your vet because it might be that they will benefit from just some anti-inflammatory medication. So just in the same way that if we're feeling a little bit under the weather or after vaccinations, we might take an acetaminophen, a paracetamol or an ibuprofen tablet just to make ourselves feel a little bit better, just to reduce any swelling, to maybe reduce any slight fever that we might be experiencing. On this note, it's important, please don't give your pet any human medications unless specifically advised by your vet. In some cases, they are appropriate, so we can give dogs paracetamol, for example, although we must never give paracetamol, and that's acetaminophen to my friends over in the States. We can never give that to cats because it is absolutely deadly. Equally, drugs like ibuprofen, they have what we'd call a very narrow therapeutic range. So while they can be beneficial, it's actually very easy to overdose our dogs and then get really some quite serious and really quite nasty side effects. So please don't give your pet anything that you've got on the shelf for your own treatment without talking to your vet in the first case. Now, it may also be, of course, that your pet is having a more serious vaccine reaction, although these are thankfully rare. When we think of really serious vaccine side effects, we can certainly get some vomiting and diarrhea. That tends not to be too serious, but we can also get anaphylactic reactions. They tend to occur within kind of minutes to hours of receiving a vaccination. Now, I've been in practice for 14 or so years now, and I've never seen an anaphylactic reaction. So that's not to say that they don't happen at all, but it puts into perspective how frequently they do happen. They really are incredibly uncommon. In cats as well, and I know we're talking about a dog here, but in cats, we also need to be aware of the rare risk of something called an injection site sarcoma. Now, these really are pretty nasty tumours. So if you've got a cat and you want more information about that, actually check back in the back catalogue, and I spoke about it in much more detail in podcast episode number 17. So definitely have a listen there if that's something that you're interested in learning more about. Now, if the lump is getting worse, if your vet's not sure that the lump is related to the vaccine, maybe he thinks it's in a slightly different place to where the injection was given, it may be that more investigation needs to be done. And that can be with something called a fine needle aspiration, where a needle is kind of poked into that lump, a few cells are sucked out and put on a microscope slide, and that's then examined under the microscope. And that's a great first step to try and determine whether that lump is just an inflammatory reaction, which is what we'd expect with a vaccination, whether it's an infection. Maybe your pet's skin was a little bit dirty and a needle kind of dragged infection into the skin. Maybe there was a problem with the vaccine, or the needle wasn't sterile. And certainly if you're giving it yourself, it may be that the injection technique wasn't quite right. It could also be that lump is a growth or a cancer, like I've just discussed. So those are a few things to have a think about if your pet gets a lump after vaccination. the same goes for after any injection as well. We can get a similar situation where there's some inflammation that goes after a period of time. But in rare situations, it maybe there is something more serious, but don't panic too much, because the vast majority of cases, it's something that will disappear without any further problem at all. Now, like I said at the beginning, vaccine side effects are a common cause of concern for pet owners, and I've got quite a lot of extra information over at ourpetshealth.com. So I'll leave links to all of the relevant previous podcasts and videos and articles in the show notes. So make sure you check out that if you want more information about vaccines in general. And I've also spoken in depth about the best vaccine protocols, titer testing, and other topics as well. That is definitely things that everybody should think about. And actually, over in the Academy, which you heard that brief advert for in the middle of the show, there's actually a Vaccine 101 course. So, that dives much deeper into these topics to give you the comfort that you're actually giving your pet the right vaccines that they need. You're not giving them unnecessary vaccines, and you know exactly what everything entails. But that's it from me for this episode of the show. I hope you found it interesting. I hope it's helped answer your questions. Remember, you can submit your question at callthevet.org as well. And until next time, take care.
Thanks for listening to Call the Vet. For full show notes and any links mentioned in today's show, head over to callthevet.org, where you can also submit your question to be featured on an upcoming episode. We'll see you next time.